act like you've been here before.
Act like you've been here
before. No matter
before.
what the situation is, I don't care if it's your first time, in a big building, first time in a meeting, it could be something as little as, an exam you're nervous about, or, you're on TV for the first time. Just act like you've been there before.
Wow.
That's a very peaceful thought. You need to act like, this isn't anything new to me. And that will get you through a lot of different situations.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to Behind Closed Doors podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Quavy, man. And, man, I got a very, very great guest for y'all, man. Mr. Olin Kolar. I'm going to give you a brief description into what he is today, man. Olin is a former assistant of the Dean of the School of Business, a former fraternity president, research fellow at Robin Hood, financial sector lead in student managed investment portfolio, and he's also been a finance summer analyst at Morgen Stanley, one of the biggest banks in America. Man, hey Olin, welcome to the show, my guy.
Thanks for having me, man.
No problem, bro. You're my guy, bro. Of course. Oh man, so bro, what we getting today? I mean, I like the outfits today, man.
I think we're kind of twinning a little.
Well, yeah, just a little bit. Why are we twinning? Why are we twinning?
I mean, maybe because we're somewhat alike, right?
Maybe, yeah. I just believe so, because he has like a really good business outlook and aspect on life, and he's learned a lot from how to get into these business spaces and have more like a mindset. And I would say it's just because, you went to New York this weekend, or when did you went to New York? Let's talk about that.
I mean, the last time I went to New York was actually over the summer. Okay. It's been a while because usually I do go, frequently just because I like the city.
Exactly.
It's fun. When you go to New York, it's like exciting. The energy there.
It's boosting. It's a lot of people.
Yeah. You come back to school ready to work.
Yeah, okay. I heard New York has some pretty interesting people and places. What's one misconception about New York already that you went there and you were like, oh, it's different?
Well, I think it's different for the person.
Okay.
Personally, I really enjoy people. So when I'm around a lot of people, there's always somebody yelling at you or screaming at you. All of that is true.
A social butterfly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean the people there are actually outlandish. But I think if you can mind your business in New York, you'll be okay. But there really is no limit to what you'll see on the streets.
Okay, that's good to hear then, bro. Okay, one thing I want to look into more, like I know Wall Street is up there at New York, bro. I watched a movie before. It was like The Wolf of Wall Street. And what I learned is, bro, like that guy, the way he came up, he was like a rookie of the year.
Right.
He was learning the game, learning how they did it. He was astonished at first when he first got here.
Yeah.
But when you went to Wall Street, what were you exposed to? Who do you talk to up there? Like, I want to get more into that specific.
I would say, so when you go to Wall Street, everybody thinks of the stock exchange.
Yes.
Right? The New York Stock Exchange, that's like the most infamous building. At this point, I would say it acts more as like it's like a museum. It's like a resemblance.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Rather than an operating stock exchange.
Okay.
People expect the floor to be packed full of people yelling, screaming, whatnot. But it's actually very calm. You have your 3 market makers that sit on the floor. Citadel's one of those. Okay. And it's calm, it's quiet, you hear the beeping. It's not like it used to be in the 80s, 90s where there's people yelling, throwing papers everywhere. It's actually, most of it's done electronic now.
Oh, so for sure.
The energy is a little bit different than it used to be.
I know when you were up there, you probably met a lot of people that are CFOs, C-suite class people. So how is it when you do those conversations with them? Because often it can be intimidating. I know when I met my first CEO, man, I was just astonished by his stature, what his tone.
Who was that?
Bro, Anton Vincent.
That guy's huge.
Eminem's guy, bro.
He's like 6'6".
Bro, yeah, he's 6'6". He's a giant, bro.
No, yeah, that guy was great.
Big mindset, though. He thinks outlook on life really fast and vast. He might see a video about that coming up soon. But what was it like talking to the CEO up there?
I would say not necessarily. I've talked to one C-suite executive, and it was in Morgan Stanley. I was going to the 39th floor. He sat on the 40th floor.
Yes.
Mandel Crawley, who is the chief of human resources at Morgan Stanley. It was a quick conversation, but to your point, I would say the managing directors are those high-level executives that you get to talk to when you're, going around meeting different people.
Exactly, yeah.
I will say, though, they're great people to have conversations with, full of wisdom, but they are going to tell you what you want to hear. Because at the end of the day, once you get to that level of a managing director, their job is mainly people. They're not in Excel all the time. So if you a little tip, if you want to hear something for what it is, talk to a vice president.
Talk to a vice president.
They will give it to you as exactly as you need to hear it. Not necessarily how you want to hear it, but as you need to hear it.
I think they have really good wisdom when it comes to advice, especially for people that are trying to learn how they got to that position. And most people, I say, mentors are people that have the high representations. They're very intricate or intentional with their time.
Yeah.
Like I heard a podcast one time on Jay Shetty where they got up, or someone had a podcast or a meeting with a guy named Alex Rodriguez, the baseball player.
A-Rod.
Yes, that's what y'all call him?
Oh my gosh, A-Rod is like a Hall of Famer. He's been, I've been in baseball forever.
Oh my gosh.
J-Lo's ex.
Yeah, J-Lo. Oh yeah, J-Lo.
Yeah.
J-Lo's ex. So basically what happened was after it was like a 30-minute meeting that A-Rod had to do. And after the 30 minutes was up, like at 2:30, he got up, gracefully okay, now I gotta get out of here and move out his way. But it was in a gracious way. It was respectful because it showed he cared about your time, but also he left when he needed to, because he's a busy guy.
Right, that's CEO level movement.
Yes,
that's how those guys move.
Exactly. So how important is time? I know time is the present, but oftentimes we use it for we take it for granted. I honestly, when I get up on my phone, bro, I be on my phone too much.
Right.
Or I just be okay, I can do it later. I can watch a Netflix show real quick. So what's the good way to beat procrastination? See,
I think that's a question that the only people that can really truthfully answer that question are the people that don't procrastinate anymore.
Yeah.
Personally, I still procrastinate. I mean, I would say time means different things to different people depending on what you're trying to accomplish within a certain time period, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a day. It could be a week, a month, a year.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Depending on your goals. So, if you have a project due at midnight and you haven't even started it, it's the day of, right? That time might be a little bit more valuable
Absolutely.
than a project that's due in a month. So it's just about, time management is obviously important, but also being able to balance what you want to be doing. What are your priorities? Is it spending time with family? Is it spending time studying, right? Is it spending time with friends? Is it spending time by yourself?
Yeah.
And that's, once you're able to, it's like a top-down approach. Once you can figure that out, then you can figure out what time means to you.
I think a way to also beat that, when you say time means to you, being more intentional with it is surrounding yourself around people that also trying to be more productive.
Right.
If their temperature is at 90 and your temperature is at 70, you want to get your temperature at 90. Yeah. You warm up a little bit to those people that are also productive.
Right.
And then also, I think procrastination also, I learned from a podcast, was that when just a little part of you is you don't believe you're supposed to be at where you want to be at. You feel me? A little part of you is oh, I can just relax. I don't deserve to be in that position. But you have to really push your mind and to control your flesh to know that you have to really go after what you want to be, you believe in, where you believe you can be at. You feel me? That's why I think with procrastination.
And procrastination causes stress. And something that I really like that Jeff Bezos said is stress isn't having a lot of work to do, or not knowing what to do. Stress is when you have a lot of work to do and you're just not doing it.
Exactly.
So you're spending more time stressing out about the work that you can do. You're just not doing it.
Ooh.
That's not verbatim, but that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a real right there. I'm not gonna lie to you. Okay, yeah. So I think that's definitely true. If you want to think more on Jeff Bezos' mindset, practice that and just do it.
Right.
Just do it, like the Nike symbol.
Exactly. Birds of a feather flock together.
Amen to that, bro. So what would you say? How was you talking about Morgan Stanley earlier?
Sure.
How was your time at Morgan Stanley? What did you learn in that internship?
Well, I would say, so first off, I was based in Baltimore.
Okay.
The way I got into Morgan Stanley was through an early insights program. I'm half Latino, so I was able to apply through a diversity program, and just getting that interview is the most important part. Just because of how competitive the industry is. But once you get that interview, you have to kill it. So I ended up getting hired into the Baltimore office, working in P&L. So I worked under fixed income traders. Basically it was like a financial accountant in a sense. So you're just crunching numbers all day.
Oh my gosh.
But I realized that, I have experience in accounting from high school. I was an accountant at a grocery store, that I wanted to learn more about how the bank operated holistically.
Absolutely, yeah.
So my mentor, who I met before my internship, is a vice president now at Morgan Stanley. And he said, well, if you can do your deliverables remotely, then ask your team if you can come to New York.
Wow.
So I did that. And best decision I've ever made. You know, there was a little bit of politics around that, people feeling a certain type of way because the rest of my cohort was in Baltimore. But
exactly, yep.
I was able to go to New York. I met incredible people. I was busy all the time. You know, I probably spent, you know, they say you split your time 50-50 doing your work, 50% networking, but I was probably doing, you know, my work 20% of the time, still completing my tasks.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then networking, you know, the other, you know, 80% of the time. And it was a lot of fun. I talked to some incredible people.
I want to talk more like about that networking, like talking to more incredible people. If you take the risk to go out there and seek a network, you can really get a really good investment out of it. Like it'll pay off in the big run. So from those conversations with those people, like, or in being in those spaces, like, how'd you learn how to create a connection with them?
Right. Well, I would say, you know, I have a story about this.
Oh, talk about this. So we love stories.
Okay, a story is cool.
Yeah.
So there's this, so Brian, my mentor, introduced me to another vice president, only he was in equity trading. And, you know, we ended up having a good conversation. He introduced me to his managing director.
Yes.
And, you know, this guy, they call him CSH.
CSH.
Yeah. Wow. I was like, okay, this guy's crazy. This guy's badass.
Okay.
I remember I had a 30-minute time slot with him, and there was a client in his office. So I'm sitting outside of his office. You know, it's an all-glass office, and his client's not leaving. So, you know, my meeting time was at 2 o'clock, and it's 2:15, and, you know, I'm
I keep going.
Whatever, and his client walks out.
Yeah.
And his assistant comes up to me, and she's like, you know, Olin, you have 15 minutes with him. He has a mandatory meeting at 2:30. I was like, okay, that's fine.
15 minutes to create a connection.
You know, you don't need to know much about the supplemental conversation, but I ended up being in that room for an hour and 30 minutes. He absolutely blew off his mandatory meeting, and it was just because I did my research on him and realized he came from a state school. And in banks like that, you typically don't see folks that come from state schools becoming, you know, managing directors. Usually it's Harvard, Yale, whatever. He was, you know, a little school from where he was from. So I talked about that, and I could tell that he was reminiscing through his journey through that conversation. And you know, that was a really good conversation.
I believe it, bro. Dang.
It was great. I know when I walked out of the office, everybody was looking at me. They're like,
he missed it for this guy.
How long were you in that office?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have a natural ability to create a connection there, and it's really a good piece to have. You have great networking skills, and then when conversation flows, when you create that connection, conversation really can go anywhere. So maybe he was just very intentional, but I think you learned some key pieces of advice from that time at Morgan Stanley and those networking. So what would you say to people that are trying to work on their networking skills a little bit more and learn how to build a connection with people that are struggling with that?
No, yeah. I mean, I would say something that even I saw other interns at Morgan Stanley doing was they'd go into this meeting with a script of questions. And while, you know, it's important to have questions, I would go into every meeting with you know, I would research this person online, and I would write down everything that I could find about them, just so I could get like a general idea of who they were. But you need to know how to have a conversation, ask open-ended questions.
Yes.
You have to realize, like, this person, you know, it's just as nerve-wracking, maybe not much so for an experienced person, but it's just as nerve-wracking for them as it is for you, right? You know, this person's going to come in and question me. Might as well make them comfortable and get them talking about things they, you know, normally wouldn't talk about, and then you establish a personal connection, and you know, you follow up afterwards, and you know, it's very important that it's organic.
Organic and nurturing.
Exactly.
Okay, or nurture that relationship. Okay. I want to move more into the piece of basically like understanding. You know, I think most people are scared of failure, right? Failure is a big thing, but failure, I think it leads to a growth mindset. And if you keep failing, there's always something to learn from that piece of our mission or adversity that stomped you.
Right.
So how have you been able to deal with adversity? And have you ever had a time where like you failed at getting something or you didn't get it, and then you had to come back and like work harder to actually get it? Like overexert yourself like a Belgian horse.
Yeah.
That's a Belgian horse.
Belgian horse, huh?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people don't know this, but my first time applying to the student managed investment portfolio, I didn't get in.
Okay.
And that sucked.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way to describe it.
No, yeah, you need that.
You know, because it you know, kicks you off your little high horse.
You
leave the interview, you feel good about it, and then you get the email, listen, we've decided to move on with different candidates. So what I actually did within that time time frame was I really focused on how to interview. During that time, I actually interviewed for Morgan Stanley. I was 19 years old when I interviewed for Morgan Stanley during my sophomore year. So I really I locked myself away for a little bit and just really focused on interviewing, being able to talk to people, because I learned in an interview the most important thing is you want to be likable.
Exactly.
You want to be somebody that they want to work with. Anybody can act like they're smart, you can fake it till you make it. But at the end of the day, you want that person to genuinely like you and want to work with you and want to research with you and want to develop with you. And that's the hard part.
That's the hard part, yeah.
Right. So I ended up going back the next semester. Luckily, this time I actually had an accepted offer from Morgan Stanley for the internship. But re-interviewing, and it turned out really well. They even gave me feedback. They were like, listen, this one was a whole lot better than your last one, regardless of the experience that you've had since then. So
you kept trying. You worked on it. So you worked on your skills, sharpened up your skills, and went back into it.
Exactly.
That's fearless of you, though. I respect it, though.
Like Anton Vincent said, actually, the one thing he said that really, it even hit me again when I heard it from himself a couple weeks ago. You were in the room.
Yeah, I was in the room, yeah.
He said, be prepared for the opportunity before it even presents itself, which is such... It's such a, it doesn't even seem that foreign.
Yeah.
But once you hear it, you're like...
If you ponder upon it, it's like you want to be prepared. Like if someone was to give you a job tomorrow,
right?
Like you already have the skills or the things that are already said on that job posting.
Right.
Like you're already ready for that position.
Exactly.
He was such a wealth of knowledge, man.
Oh my gosh, he was incredible. I mean,
he has so much advice he gave in that one.
He really just made, what I got from that statement is the world is moving fast, very fast.
Yeah.
And who are you to think the world is going to wait on you?
Oh.
First of all, in the United States alone, there's 300 million plus people out there that are trying to get the same thing that you're trying to get.
Yes.
It's it's one person versus the world's 7 billion people, right?
Yeah.
You have to figure it out.
I think I agree with you, because he said the way he got to where he is now, he had to work really, really, really hard to get there, and have the grit to prove himself every single day.
Yeah.
And now we're in a day and age where we're surrounded by media that it tells us to improve every single day. David Goggins, Jay Shetty. There's so much gurus that tell us just get everywhere. Up. They're everywhere. So everybody's getting that same message we're getting.
Yeah.
So there's about 100 millions of us that are trying to grow and get bigger, but you have to overwork extra hard in this generation to get to where you want to be at in life.
Right.
That's why I truly believe you have to overwork the people that are already in the CEO positions, the C-suite positions, to become those C-suite positions.
That's why, frankly, people have asked me, I worked with Ivy League students over the summer. Are you intimidated by them? And I'm like, not really, because they didn't have to work as hard as I did to get here.
Exactly.
Right? These big banks campus recruit at their schools, just like we have, Altria and whatnot in our career fairs. They have Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs at their career fairs, right?
Yeah.
So, one thing that executives do realize from state school kids, like, we're blessed to be at a state school, is those kids will always show up every day with their hard hat on and their lunch pail, ready to work. Yeah.
They want to work hard,
and that's the difference.
Yeah, bro.
And that's what we've been blessed with.
Amen.
Seriously.
Respected to it, man. Come on.
Amen.
Come on, bro. So I think that's really where we're going toward. I want to ask you more about what's your end goal after your career? What type of goal are you chasing right now that you wanna finish off with, like your career with, or something?
Like retirement type or end of career type?
End of career type, because people don't look that far ahead, or is that a little too far ahead to look at?
Well, my goal is to be able to have a family that will never, that could do whatever they want to do with no restriction. And, some call that privileged, but when you're the one that's trying to provide that privilege, I think there's a different mindset around that. And,
absolutely.
And, there's a different feeling of comfort around that. So that's really what I'm pushing for. That success to me looks like having a family that I can raise, wherever. I really don't think that matters, but a family that's comfortable, healthy, happy. I never want money to be a problem in the family.
Exactly.
That's a little selfish to say, but it's true. Money doesn't buy happiness, but it does buy security.
It does help with resources too.
And it helps with resources, right?
Get you in the right spaces.
So, that's important.
Yeah.
But that's also why right now I'm not focused on money, because, money doesn't buy happiness.
Okay, what are you focused on right now? Is it like building a rich mindset, learning?
Experience, learning. That's
experience.
Literally what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, learning as much as possible. But this is the reality. So you can chase working at one of these big banks where you're going to get paid a lot of money, but the way these big banks operate is that you're part of a big deal, but you are such a small part of this big deal, right?
Wow.
So if you go to a smaller bank that's probably working on a deal that's a few $1 billion less than the one that you would see at the big bank, the difference is that your contribution to this deal is a lot bigger.
Right, absolutely.
And that means you're getting experience in more aspects of this deal, right? So maybe you're doing all the valuation for the deal rather than just doing like a DCF model.
Exactly.
So that way you're able to take that experience, right? Which, you won't make as much money at first.
Yeah.
And level up almost exponentially.
Keep flying.
Even surpass some of those people that started at the bulge bracket bank.
Yeah. I think it depends where you're at. Like, I would say your environment, the environment you're at, it's really important. Because you could be valued at 100K over here,
right,
but $1 million, but you at a place you never knew you could expect to be at. You feel me? So that's why I think you gotta take your talents. That's a good question. Job hopping. I've heard it's like becoming a trend now in the space. Work 2 or 3 years at a company and then move on to another company,
right? And
then grow your assets there because you already have previous skills from the other company you can apply.
Right.
So what's your take on job hopping? Because right now my take is like, it makes sense. It does make sense, but it does create disloyalty on your resume when they see a lot of like previous experiences.
Right. No, disloyalty is definitely a big part of it, but I think the more important part is being strategic with your job hopping, and that's the most difficult part.
Yeah.
I'm in the C-suite class right now where we get to talk to executives across various industries, and they do different things in their day-to-day jobs, but the people who job hop and have been successful to the point where now they're a CEO, CFO, sometimes had to take a pay cut, or they had to move across the country, or something like that. I think when you're job hopping, it's important to see that there was some type of sacrifice made, and why did you make that sacrifice?
Okay.
And which personally I can't speak on that myself because I haven't done that yet. But just speaking to other people, that's what I've been able to pick up on. It's okay to job hop. It's possible to be loyal to one company for your entire career
and grow into it.
The CFO at Morgan Stanley, Sharon, she came through as an intern, has been there ever since. She's 42 years old as a CFO. She's killing it, absolutely killing it.
Yes.
But then there's other people like, Ty Boskert, who is the CEO at Med RVA.
Yeah.
And, this guy has worked in every different type of industry, every job. It seems like across the entire East Coast. And he's killing it right now. Yeah. So that there's no direct line.
Yeah, be very strategic with it.
Exactly.
Okay, I see what you mean. Okay, perfect. One thing I'm trying to also work on is basically like adding structure to my lifestyle. Like I feel like oftentimes we just going through life willy-nilly and we're too much in the present sometimes that we forget to build our schedule.
Right.
So I think adding structure to your life and adding structure will also add discipline as well. So those two things, how can that dual weapon help vitalize someone to become more greater every single day? Like building that habit of, I'm gonna go to the gym in the morning, right? Or I'm gonna have this meeting at a certain time, and just like planning the schedule ahead. Right. How does adding structure help enhance someone's lifestyle?
Well, I would say, structure, first of all, you're just able to get a lot more done in a day when you have structure. I would also say, though, living completely in the present isn't always a bad thing, because when you focus too far ahead, you start to speed up a little bit.
Oof.
I was asked the other day by this guy, Tristan, who's a barber. He's a
I know. Yeah. I heard of him.
Barber, right? Yeah. He's a sophomore, and he said, if you could, he was like, you're a senior, you're about to graduate. Just give me one piece of advice, just something that you picked up on where you look back at college. It was like, dang. And I was like, bro, have a little bit of fun.
Have a little bit of fun?
Because once you get so hyper-focused on scholastics and experience and opportunity, which is great, you have to be able to find a balance, because it's first of all, you can burn out quickly. And also you're here to experience living in the present, and you're here to be able to mess up and it be better than if you were outside of college, right?
Exactly. Ooh,
if that makes sense, right? It's not, I'm not going to say it's more acceptable, but it almost makes more sense to get your do your trial and errors now, and and mess up while you can, and then
learn it.
You know, everybody's gonna get older eventually. Your time will come.
Yeah.
But you know, build some of those disciplines at an early age, and then you know, exponentially it'll get better.
Okay, now I think there's one theme that you kind of brought up there. The whole notive. I saw a podcast with Michael B. Jordan, where one time he said, "I'm gonna grind in my 20s so I can enjoy my 30s," right? And I've seen that used so many times, like throughout. And I'm gonna ask this question for a future podcast for another person, but I want to ask your question right now.
Sure.
Where is your mindset on like grind through your 20s and then enjoy your 30s? Or would you say there's a balance to it? You can start your 20s, you know, making your mistakes right now, like you just mentioned, and then 30s, we'll see what comes.
I would say if we were to take the 20s and 30s narrative and shrink it down into like college, I definitely grinded in my first couple or few years, and then started chilling now. I don't think I would revert. If I were to go back and do it again, I think I'll do it the same way, just because I was able to learn a lot really quick. Because being a freshman in college, you know, I swear every day your life changes, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Once you get older, like, you know, it's more fun to do stuff like this because you've already had experience and whatnot. While there's other people that are trying to find experience now, they're almost scrambling for it.
Yeah, true.
So I would say that worked out actually pretty well for me. So to the point of grind in your 20s so you can chill in your 30s, 100%. But you can't be discouraged if it takes you a little bit longer than other people.
Yeah, that's true.
And you know, that comes with time. That could very well happen to me, right? Like, I mean, that could happen to you. This podcast could blow up, you know, maybe in 5 years.
A lot,
right?
Yeah, because they might know who you are or who I am in 5 years, and just both like that.
No, exactly. That's just the reality of it. You can't be too hyper focused on trying to do too much at one time. At some point you have to go with the flow.
You got to. I think thinking ahead too. Like some people think like 5 years. What's your 5-year plan? And I feel like most college students don't really have the idea what their 5-year plan is. And when I'm looking at it now, like if you don't know your 5-year plan now, you're just gonna go through life living too much in the present.
Right.
A friend told me earlier this week. I went on a coffee lunch, and we talked about basically reflecting on your day. After each day, look at the list of what drains you, right? What drains you and what rejuvenates you. What gives you energy? Is it conversations with your friends? What I found was, for me, was conversations with my friends, FaceTiming people. So I started doing more of that as of late. And then what drains me is just conversations that involve a lot of stress, missing a deadline or things of that nature. So what would you say about reflection? Are people too much in the present? And then how would you say how important it is to look at that 5-year plan?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, first I would say I've spent a lot of this semester reflecting on the last 3 years of college. And that's where I've been able to build, like, you know, okay, these last 3 years went great. Here's what I think I did well. Here's what I think I did.
What did you find? What did you find that was doing well, and what did you do great?
Okay, well, I'm kind of being redundant now, but did well. Like, you know, I worked really hard. I swear the freshman year Olin is not
the same as
not at all.
Yeah.
What I wish I did more of is I wish I had more fun, right? Like, you know, this is such an excellent city. You know, it's exciting. Culture is everywhere. There's so much to learn about everything.
I didn't think about that, yeah.
So I wish I did have a little bit more fun. But I'm actually curious as to what your 5-year plan is.
What my 5-year plan? I think for me, my 5-year plan is get a full-time job where I'm getting paid really good money, continue the podcast, have really good, like, conversations that build up to a good platform where I can get on the bigger stages, be consistent with it with my team, grow more of my, like, friendships and family relationships, because I feel like I've been too involved too much in, like, organizations.
Okay.
Like, I already got my network. I have an influence here, but I feel like it's time to let go of some things and then focus more on the relationships that matter. So I've been struggling with that a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Like, being too involved in your workplace, you start forgetting about people that got you there.
Right.
And I don't want to forget that. I want to focus more on the family piece and my family friends piece, because I think it's really important that you have those. I like to call them golf balls.
Yeah.
And then everything else is like pebbles and rocks and sand. Right. But the golf balls are really what's important, and that's your family and your friends.
Right.
So you got to vitalize them, and then that's where I'm focused. Next year, I'm focusing on my golf balls, man.
Then that's important. I mean, you're a junior.
Yeah.
So you're like 1 year behind me. I would say my junior year, I was ultra involved. You know, I was doing everything. But everything kind of slowed down after this beginning of this semester when I was no longer president of my fraternity. And, you know, I told my fraternity, listen.
So back to my point, basically talking about like, you know, how like the quotes, asking for so much advice, it affects your judgment. So just learn to lean on your own like experience and just like trust your own judgment, because necessarily the things you learn from the past, bro, they'll help you more than hearing it for someone else's past.
It's
you
true.
feel me?
No, yeah. I actually don't like giving advice. Like people will, you know, I'm not saying everybody comes to me for advice, but people will ask me about advice on certain situations. I never give advice on certain situations because I think you need to be independent with how you deal with that.
Absolutely.
But I do have like my 3 like key piece of advice that I give to people if like it's like more of a general thing.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Okay. So Olin, just to wrap up the episode a little bit, I want to ask you some quick fire questions.
All right.
So it just basically, actually, after this question, I'm gonna ask you some quick fire questions. But what's your goal at 30, age 30? What do you want to be doing? What do you want your life to look like at age 30?
Well, so the age 30.
Right now you're
21.
21. So 9 years from now.
So 9 years. Well, I hope by 30 I at least know who's going to be the mother of my kids. Because I really do want kids.
A family,
I grew up Catholic. I grew up with 3 siblings, household of 4 kids, 6 with the parents. So, you know, I see the unity and loyalty within the family. You know, my sister's the most loyal person I know. So by 30, if I don't have a kid, I need to be figuring that out because that's important to me. I would hope to be married. And then in terms of like career-wise, I always tell people VP by 30.
VP by 30?
By 30. I've seen different people take different routes to get there, but I think that's very attainable, and it's not something that's, you know, there's no monetary value to that, you know, there is.
I see what you mean.
I'm not saying I hope to be making $500,000 by 30. No. I hope to be a vice president at 30, doing what? I'm not sure, or something equivalent to that on the, you know, if
I can see it. I can see it, though. Definitely, bro. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing your journey, bro.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, bro, you're gonna be up there, bro.
Thank you.
The places you're going is bright, man. Trust me.
Come on, likewise.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. I mean, I say my 30 when I'm age 30, man. Yeah, I probably want to have my wife by then, and then also maybe starting a family, looking at like some options for a family. Cause I do want kids as well. As far as career wise and friendship wise, I want my friends. I want a really good knit group of friends that hold me accountable, that we can laugh with, and then, you know, also maybe share a business with as well.
True.
And I want to throw like wine parties, you know, like a pool party, and just have everybody wearing that Mike Rubin stuff, the all white.
Oh my gosh, those parties are insane.
Oh, I want to be in those parties, man. So I'm gonna just throw theme parties a little bit that are networking, like having talks like this. You know what I mean? Because I just love just learning new things. Career-wise, I also want to be a part of maybe the C-suite for a company, or really making a lot of money. I'm not gonna lie to you. Money helps with resources.
True.
And then a podcast, a well-renowned podcast that has a great following.
Right.
You know, of over 100K.
Yeah.
Over 100K. That's all I want. I want to help people really grow themselves like every single day, because I feel like I've been inspired from people in the past to also grow myself.
Right.
So I want to just put it on to other audiences so they can start their own podcasts or actually learn new things and what career goals they want to accomplish or life goals, bro.
Inspire other podcasts.
Absolutely. But this podcast really teaches you a lot if you talk to a lot of guests here, man. I'm not going to lie to you.
Oh, my gosh. No, I mean, you probably have your own wealth of knowledge that you've gotten from your podcast.
Yeah, thank you to the previous guests, and thank you to the people I talk around. You know, I mean, I learned a lot from them. But yeah, let me ask you some quick fire questions, okay? So these are like questions that you just give like a phrase or a sentence, right?
Okay.
So just answer quick. Okay, you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see.
If you had the ability to change any rule in the world or make a rule in the world, what would it be? Any rule in the world, it could be anything. Anything. Yeah. What would you be?
Oh my gosh, that's a hard question.
It's a hard question, isn't it? And people mostly get hit by this one. But don't think about it too hard. It can be anything chill. It can be strawberries. Would you want strawberries in every single, you know what I mean?
Right. I would say that education and you know, there's a obviously it's a surefire answer question, but this one needs an explanation so I don't get attacked.
Yeah.
There's a political monetary policy behind this that just makes this infeasible in a sense. But free education, I think, is so important. If somebody wants to learn, if somebody wants to get educated, they should be able to do that for free. No questions asked. Money should not be a barrier in education.
Okay. All right, bet. Okay. What's one hobby that you want to carry on to for the next 5 years? Like, what's one hobby you enjoy?
Photography. That was my initial like pump into VCU. That's how I first, Kolar photo. That's like the way I found myself around different people.
Yes.
I've met, my network's been so diverse because of photography. I have my connections on Wall Street, but then I've been in the studio with people like F&F Chop.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Which is insane. Like I've been in Desi Banks's dressing
room. Oh my
room,
gosh, yeah,
so
that's
like that's kind of my sense of a diverse network, and that photography has been able to provide that for me.
Okay. My last question is, what's one celebrity or influencer or anybody in the world that you would have the pleasure to speaking to, dead or alive?
Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, he is considered a celebrity. Celebrity CEO, they call them. That guy, he's been rich his entire life, but there's a sense of humbleness that comes from him and work and determination and wisdom that oh my gosh, if I could go to dinner with anybody, it'd be him.
It'd be him.
That'd be such a phenomenal conversation.
Okay. Well, hey, bro, Olin, man, it's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Hey, I want to leave with 3 pieces of advice that have got me through college.
Oh, definitely, bro. Please, we love knowledge.
This is very general. Okay. First, read the news. There's so much going on every day. Read 3 articles a day. Read an economics article, read a financial article, and read a political article. Those 3 articles that take you 15 minutes every morning. You'd be surprised on how much you could talk about.
You can learn
with different people just through like networking and whatnot.
Right.
Second, don't act rich to poor people and don't act poor to rich people.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. People making someone feel bad for you or trying to make yourself seem like you're above somebody else. That will never work. And it'll actually put you further back the more you try to do that, right?
Yeah.
And then act like you've been here before.
Act like you've been here before.
No matter what the situation is, I don't care if it's your first time, in a big building, first time in a meeting, it could be something as little as, an exam you're nervous about or, you're on TV for the first time. Just act like you've been there before.
Wow.
That's a very peaceful thought. You need to act like, this isn't anything new to me. And that will get you through a lot of different situations. That alone is a lot deeper than you would think.
Okay. Olin, man, I think I like about this guy because he told me that same exact 3 when we had our coffee lunch that one time, bro. So
I live by them.
It shows he's a stand-up guy, bro. Stand-up guy in business. Truly. Good job, bro.
Thank you, Steph.
All right, bro. No, thank you, man.
Always good seeing you, bro.
Oh, absolutely, bro. Make sure y'all watch this video. Make sure y'all like it all the way through. If you have watched the whole video through, comment down below. Fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji. You feel me? 3 of them. And then make sure you also look at our pages. We have bcd.pod on Instagram. We have BCD Podcast on TikTok. And we have BCD Podcast on YouTube, the platform you're watching right now. I'm your host, Stephen Quavy, man. It's a pleasure. See y'all next time. Thank you.